G'day once again, folks. You are back with the big fella. So it was about this time last year that I actually made a bin hotel for the frogs, and it was made out of a standard 60-litre willow black plastic bin, and it had some custom inserts put inside it, some galvanised bolts and nuts and washers, and a lot of perspex and put in there as well. So I'll leave a link just in case you want to actually go back and have a look at that yourself. Now, the design of this bin hotel was always a little bit out there. I just kind of winged it as I went, and what I did was to kind of just make what I thought was going to be a good base for a frog hotel, which eventually it just got decommissioned at the end of summer. As much as I didn't really want that to happen, but it just did because it wasn't all it could be. I wanted to try again this summer, try and pick up where I left off and see if I could make it just that little bit better. What we're going to do is to try and improve on the design just a little bit. So what it is, it's still going to have the same base, same area for the frog hotel to actually sit in. So naturally it's going to be a little bit top heavy. But what I want to do is to actually take out a little bit of that heaviness and take out some of the stones and maybe replace that with a little bit of river sand instead. So it's going to be a little bit more stable. It's a bin, so it's still going to have the same natural height to keep the cane toads out of there. What we're also going to have this time is the same type of setup with the pipes, but this time we're going to have some decent plants in there. We're going to have the Canna Lilies. So these ones are cocoa Canna Lilies, they're red ones. And what we're going to do also is to put in a proper water feature similar to the other frog hotels that I've got situated either side of it. So what we're going to do right now is go through the component parts of the hotel, kind of go through a bit of the design of it, maybe discard some of the parts that were in it last time, see what we can actually do to improve on it, how it's going to look when it's all finished. So I'm just going to do a bit of a map out of the hotel. These two frog hotels are staying exactly where they are. The bin hotel is going exactly here, where our very large green tree frog is, and that's kind of where our sunshade sits. So this sunshade I've kind of jerry-rigged out of a bit of shade sail cloth, an old Clotheshorse, and a couple of 6-foot stakes, and copious amounts of zip ties, and a few carabiners so they can be secured to the edge of the shed. So what we're going to do is to effectively take out the middle part of the Clotheshorse. So I'm going to get busy with the angle grinder. Alright, now this is the Clotheshorse turned upside down, and what I'm going to do is actually take out this bar, probably the one in the middle if I can find a way to keep it stable without it, and the top 2 bars over there, and that should be enough to put the bin inside of. Otherwise it's pretty much pointless having a Clotheshorse there with all those bars, because the bin is going to be in the same place. Alright, so now we've still got the same pipes. We're still going to use the same recesses or reliefs in the bottom of the pipe to allow water to travel up. So both of those pipes have actually got them on there. So what we're going to get rid of is this here, which was basically to hold in a common rush and to allow some water to actually come in through there. It didn't really like the water all that much, even though it's designed to be a water plant. So what we're going to do is get rid of that. As for the lights that we were using before, they're actually being used on the other frog hotels, so we're going to discard these. So we're going to have 1, 2 pipes, and we're going to have 2 plants. So we're just going to see how they look with those in there. So now this is kind of how I want this thing to look when it's finished, besides the water feature, which isn't put in there just yet. So these are cocoa Canna Lilies. They've got a red bloom to them, but what they're going to do is sit on either side of the pipes. This is kind of the design that I had in mind. I never really tested this out before, but they're going to sit like that, but they're going to be sitting in amongst river sand. Now around the bottom of the pipes there's going to be river sand probably up to about maybe about 2 inches up, as much river sand as I can put in there. And maybe to solidify everything, I'm going to put the lilies on top of some stones and just kind of leave the pipes exposed. So that's kind of how I'm going to sit it for now, and kind of reevaluate it once it all comes together. Now there's one thing that I've just noticed that I will be reprioritising, and that is the use of this 100-mile-an-hour tape. Now that was just a kind of band-aid solution. What it was before, it was actually stuck down with bulldog clips. What I did instead was, to get rid of all the clips, I had to stick down the lining somehow, and 100-mile-an-hour tape was the only real solution. So for mine right now it is the only solution, but we're just going to do it a little bit more tidily than this. Right, now before we get started on the guts of this, one thing that always really bothered me about the design was the unfortunate fact that you had the nuts actually poking through into the plastic, and it doesn't make for a flat surface. I mean, you can see some here, there's some over here as well, so around the outsides. What we're going to do is going to try to remedy that a little bit, so we're going to make it a little bit more flat. So it's going to be done in a fairly simple type of manner. We're going to use the river sand to try and flatten this out, get it to about that height, so push it all down, get it nice and flat, and then we're going to work on a platform for these pipes. So now, without going into too great a detail about this, what I'm going to do is actually use this leftover bit of tile. I'm going to take about as much as I need from it, so about snap in half maybe, and then snap the half that I've got into thirds. So it's actually going to take up only as much of a footprint as the pipes need. So what we're going to do is kind of stack up the parts that have been cut, put them on top of river sand, and then make up a base from that. Okay, so the original idea was to go with tile because it was, in my mind at least, it was going to be easy enough to cut up and place inside the Frog Hotel, and it was going to be heavy and it wouldn't kind of float. But it didn't quite want to snap the way I wanted it to, being 7mm thick, or about 932s in freedom units. It just didn't want to behave. What you really need is something that is purpose made so you can get that thickness of tile to snap on the right line. So what we're going to do instead is go with our old friend, the Perspex. So this stuff is what's left over from the bin hotel when I first made it. So the platform that everything sits on and is inside the bin and underneath the plastic. So it's a kind of fitting solution, I think. So this is kind of what we're going to work with, and I'm going to see if I can kind of cut it up to the right size and maybe glue them all together and hope they don't go floating. So let's see how we go with that. So what do you reckon about this? Just on the off chance that I thought it might be just wide enough for the pipes to kind of sit on, it is exactly what I want, and it's just a little bit over, which is kind of ideal. So we're going to cut up this to suit and glue them all together, or silicone or whatever, put them inside the Frog Hotel.
A few minutes later.
And so now we've actually cut these up to the correct size, about 100mm across each, and about, I don't know, enough to accommodate both the pipes with a little bit of room left over. They're all exactly the same size, and what we do is just kind of mount them all up and put a bit of sealant in between them, so that way they won't be tempted to float up, and if they do, we've got stones and we've got river sand that will help them actually keep on the floor of the Frog Hotel. So after sealing these up, the next job is to get these pipes primed up and painted the same colour blue as the ones already out in the Frog Hotels right now. So just a quick update for tonight. I've actually siliconed these in place. They are going to go into the Frog Hotel as is. So basically this is about just over 2 centimetres of platform for the pipes to sit upon. That is going to be surrounded by sand and some rocks, well that's the plan anyway, and we'll see how that goes once it's been put in there.
Later.
So we have the insides mostly sorted, and it's just going to take a little bit of figuring out which way I want to orientate things because of the nuts that are protruding from the plastic in the insert there. But what I wanted to draw your attention to here is just around the sides, because I've just taken off the old bits of 100-mile-an-hour tape, or gaffer tape if you want to call it that. But here is clearly where it needs to be fixed up, because it's, what you can see it's attaching to is something that's uneven around the sides. So it takes a little bit more neatening up to try and get it looking pretty. So that's what I'm going to try and do now, and see if I can get it to look any better. Well, I've got to say it's not perfect, but it sure is a hell of a lot neater than what it was before. Just had strands and stuff poking up out of everywhere. I've reduced the height of the workbench so I can get this more easily in perspective. So we've got a half a pail worth of river sand here, which is about 10 litres. I'm going to guess most of it is going to go into here. What I've done is trim down these bricks to kind of take up as minimal real estate as possible, and not hit any of the nuts that are underneath this part here. So whatever does hit, I'm just going to cover up with river sand, and we'll see how we go with the placement. And so now I've got the bottom part of this large pipe kind of sitting stable again. Get a time lapse going and get some priming and painting done, and hopefully one step closer to getting it finished.
1 hour later.
So the primer and the first coat are down, and as I try to do battle for audio supremacy over the country choir, i.e. the lawnmowers that are abound, I'm going to let these guys dry for about maybe an hour or so and come back and finish it off. This is just a little bit more than a tack coat right now.
Tomorrow.
And so now the joiners and the pipes have been adequately painted and as blemish free as possible. The finish is actually looking pretty good from here. I can't really see anything that needs redoing, so let's just hope they cure nicely and there's nothing that gets on the finish, and tomorrow we'll start putting them all back together and start reassembling the hotel. So here it is right now. I'm about to go fill it up with some river sand, but what I'm going to do first is clean out the insides because it's been sitting there for about 9-10 months. And what I want to do, I know I said before I was going to prop up the plants with some stones, but I decided on some half bricks instead. It puts it up to a proper height, it's nice and level, and it brings it into line with the other frog hotels as well. What I have to do is basically chop off the ends. You can actually see where the fresh part of the chop is. We've got it all kind of mapped out to square. We will see how it all goes once the sand's in there, and this is actually sitting in its nice proper place right now. Once the sand goes in, we'll put the bricks on top, and we'll see how everything sits. Now this was the original idea of how I thought this was all going to kind of map out, but what's going to happen now is I'm going to put the pipes on there and see how the bricks are going to go. Alright, so what I've done now is to create a bit of a platform for the water feature to sit on top of, as well as both these bricks for the plants. So the water height is only going to come up to the top of where the sand is right there. I probably think that the sand's a little bit high there, so I might just flatten that out. But the rest of it, it's it's just designed as kind of rocks underneath the sand, and it's kind of designed to be a bit of algae mitigation. So that's how I imagine it'll work. I don't know if it will, but it's worth trying because I've never tried it before. So that's how it is, and it's ready to go right now. So we're going to rearrange things outside, get the Clotheshorse kind of sawed up, and get the plants on top and some water inside. Alright, now as I expected, the whole platform just kind of came undone and just kind of collapsed as soon as I took out one of those cross sections. But this crucial one at the middle here, the pivot point, what I'm going to do is take that out as mildly as possible and then kind of put it back together with zip ties, so it's still got its structure there, because that's kind of what's holding the whole lot up. Well, God bless the inventor of zip ties. They truly are the only thing that's making this thing stay together right now, because it's not only holding the whole frame together, but it's also keeping the stakes and the sunshade in place at the same time. As far as structural rigidity goes, well, leaves a bit to be desired, but I think I'll try and figure something out. This is far from done right now, but it's a bit of a stopgap measure. So what I'm going to do is try and figure out something to stop it from swaying around a bit, because what we need to do is put the hotel in the middle of this. That's the whole purpose of cutting out all the supports. Well, you know, I have to say, this isn't actually as bad as what I thought it would be, because before it was doing not much better than this is right now. So it has got a bit of sway there, but I think it'll be okay because it's still got the hotels, one on this side and one over that side, and with the bin hotel in the middle there. So this isn't actually too bad. Came out a bit better than what I thought it would. Okay, so barring the water feature and some water, this is all pretty much finished. It's almost in its place, ready to go. Just shift it over there and we'll get a thumbnail shot. Okay folks, so there it is, another build done and dusted. As far as I'm concerned right now, I think I've finished up with all the Frog Hotel stuff, barring maybe impromptu live stream, maybe a Q&A if that's what you want. But as far as everything else goes with the frogs, I think I've kind of exhausted what I wanted to do with them. What I'm going to do is leave this video with a couple of passing shots at night time when the frogs are all out and about. Also with the sunshade out and how it actually works now with all 3 frog hotels underneath it. So that's kind of how I designed it, how it's supposed to be looking right now. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, just a quick addendum to the video. I kind of screwed up a little bit with the river sand. Basically what I had to do was put in a few more rocks so it wouldn't mix up with the water and make it all mucky and, you know, make the pump do unnecessary filtering. So I had to put some more rocks at the back here and get the water level up so it's kind of covering the bottom of the pots. So as you see down here, this one's actually got quite a lot of roots growing out of the bottom and it loves it. Look how much is growing. And the same over here, it's doing exactly the same thing. So as you can see, blooming quite happily. Trying to get these ones kick-started. I know they're still going, they look a little bit dead right now, but I think they'll be able to be salvaged. Well, if not, I can always go back up to the place where I got these from and get some more. So that's got the pump sorted, and instead of just pumping out all this murky water yesterday, now it's a little bit cloudy, but it is starting to settle down more. So we're all happy now, and we've got some frogs waiting to come out. Thanks very much for watching, guys. If you like what you saw, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in the next video, guys. Until then, this is the big fella. Have a good one, guys.